I have an ambition to visit every women's football ground in England and take in a match. Today that brings me to Emirates Stadium, the home of the European champions, Arsenal. Welcome to the only stop in London named after a football club. It is not Gillespie Road, no. It's Arsenal. Now you'll see walking along the bridge up to the stadium a host of legends for Arsenal Football Club. Currently all of them are for the men. I wonder if that might change though now with the women playing full-time at Emirates Stadium. Already the trophies have been added to the honor roll around the stadium, so I do kind of wonder if the same might happen outside. So recently some of the paintings around the outside of the stadium got redone, which to be honest, it kind of needed that. The issue with Emirates is that unlike most stadiums, it really kind of does feel separate from everything else around it. Like it's just this big mega stadium plopped into the middle of London, and whereas Highbury felt like it was in people's backyards, this one feels a lot more distant from the community. So those murals do at least go some way towards making it feel a bit more like the fans are connected to the club. So, to say that Arsenal were the dominant team in England for the 90s and 2000s wouldn't actually really do justice to just how insanely dominant Arsenal was, because from 2004 to 2012 they won 9 consecutive league titles. In that span of time they lost a total of 5 games. So they won 9 titles and lost 5 games. That is 4 more titles won than games lost, which is absolutely insane. For a very, very long time they were absolutely untouchable, and that is recognized in their trophy cabinet, where they have 15 league titles, 14 FA Cups, and now 2 Champions Leagues. They did the quadruple in 2007. Like, there's really no comparison to them in the women's game, and even with how successful Chelsea have been as of recent, they're still nowhere near the level of trophies that Arsenal have. Like, you look at just about any metric for women's football in England, and Arsenal are top of it. Now, what's cool about Arsenal is that it's not just the trophy haul and success where they lead everyone. It is also in terms of fan attendance. So I said if you look into any metric pretty much in women's football in England, Arsenal's leading it. But that's also the case in attendances. In 2023, Arsenal played Wolfsburg in a Champions League semi-final and sold out the Emirates. And that was kind of a watershed moment where the club hasn't really looked back since then. They have continued to get very high attendances, including more sellouts in the WSL. So they lead the way in attendance and engagement with fans. They've been very good at their advertisements for matches, and they've just continued to be very successful in that sense. Between 2003 and 2016, Arsenal managed to win at least 1 trophy every single year. Since then, they've won the league in the 2018-19 season and 2 League Cups in 2022-23. That was the case as of 2024 at least. And so a club that for a very long time had been the club, virtually untouchable in the English women's game, all of a sudden kind of fell off a little bit. You can kind of see in the Premier League just by looking at the winners. If you go through the list of winners, you can see when eras changed. You can see when Man United stopped winning titles and Man City did. And the same can be said for the WSL. You can see a distinct moment just by looking through league champions for the Women's Premier League and then the WSL, when Arsenal stopped winning league titles and Chelsea started winning them. Chelsea now are that team in the women's game. They have usurped Arsenal in that sense over the past 10 years. Now, a narrative is a funny thing. It can be an ironclad thing that looms over the team, and for a very long time, Arsenal's narrative was that they couldn't really reach the heights anymore. All the flash of the big attendances and the players, but ultimately they don't have the trophies to go with that. But narratives can also change, just like that. All of a sudden, we went on a Champions League run. We got a relatively unknown French manager by the name of René Schlegers, who took over a broken team and led us to a Champions League final. And so we went to Lisbon from North London and we won the Champions League. And Let me tell you, I have watched Arsenal for a very long time. I have experienced so many different, very dramatic emotions of all the highs and the lows, but I don't really think of any other time that I've actually cried. But watching us win the Champions League just like completely knocked me out. It was something I never believed that we were actually going to be capable of doing. I thought, you know, that was something for the teams of yesteryear. And then all of a sudden, as outsiders, we go on this magical run and win the Champions League. And it's just, I can't even believe like something like that could happen. You can tell this station was designed to host match-going football fans because you see to the side, this is to block off for people going the other way when there's a whole bunch of fans going down the tunnel out of the station. So Arsenal recently added the women's trophies to the roll of achievements around the stadium. As you can see over there, the League Cups won by our women in 2023 and 2024, and then the Champions League in 2025. So I mentioned in the video about Chelsea, the program size, because Chelsea didn't have quite the same number of fans to where they could make a really big program like Arsenal, and I think it is pretty unique. Firstly, I love the image on the front of the program. But also, this one is a very thick program in comparison to probably most other programs you get in the WSL, because Arsenal genuinely does have that fan engagement that no other club has. And it looks like there's going to be somewhere between 30 and 40,000 fans in the stadium today. So obviously Arsenal very successful with that, and it's probably going to be just another really successful year. So Arsenal are definitely coming into this season on a high, having won the Champions League. Over the summer, they've been busy. They made sure to tie Alessia Russo down to a long-term deal, as well as bring Chloe Kelly to the club long-term. They also broke the transfer record for the signing of Olivia Smith. So they broke the transfer record, a sign of intent. However, that transfer record was soon broken by London City Lionesses, who are far from a normal club. For the first time in a while, the WSL is going to have a club not associated with the men's team. They have made a lot of moves themselves, London City, probably more than just about anyone, bringing in a lot of older experienced players, as well as just yesterday breaking the world record that Arsenal set for the biggest, most expensive player ever. Now, Emirates Stadium definitely has a different vibe to some. It is a much more modern stadium. You won't find a single bad seat in the stadium, but it also lacks some of the character that other stadiums might have. That being said, as I alluded to earlier in the video, it is feeling more and more like home. It always takes a while to get used to a new home, but I do think in the last few seasons it has felt more like an emotional place where you can really connect with the team here.
Emirates Stadium, will you please welcome London City Lionesses and these streets are
got a penalty, London City. It's not a good start at all. But hopefully we can see save from Van Domselaar. Van Domselaar almost got to it. Good penalty, 1-0 London City. So what I love about the atmospheres of these kind of games, Katie Reed concedes a penalty. Every time she's touched the ball since, the entire stadium has cheered for her, and that's really nice to see. I love that that's happening. Oh my goodness me! What a finish from Olivia Smith! That's why we paid $1 million for her. What a goal! 1-1 in this game. We hadn't done much, and then Olivia Smith comes up with that. All right, well, I feel better now. Really poor start from Arsenal, but then a moment of brilliance from Olivia Smith that gets us back in the game, gets us going, and probably in the last 20 minutes, we were definitely on top of things. Now, you see there's ground crew working on the pitch right now, and that is another difference you'll see, maybe not with Stamford Bridge or the Valley, but you'll see it later in the series probably at smaller grounds. Like, the pitch is very well maintained here and at other Premier League grounds, but not so nice at, say, Boreham Wood, Kings Meadow, or other grounds where clubs also play. So that is one thing I'm sure the players will be very happy about playing here, is the grounds crew and how nice the pitch is here. Over there, if you can see the scarves moving and whatnot, that's where I think all the main fans are. And this is where I think I prefer Boreham Wood to the Emirates. It's quite hard to get sound to go around at the Emirates, whereas at Boreham Wood in the North Stand you get a lot of fans going. And when you do get everything going at the Emirates, when you got everyone in the stadium chanting one thing, it is really powerful and can be really intimidating. But it doesn't happen too often, and it tends to just be fans in certain pockets that get chants going and they can't go anywhere else. Just like that, it's 4 within minutes. The subs combined. Bean plays the ball up into Freedom Autumn, and it's 4-1. It's a pretty good crowd today. That's where Arsenal is very good at getting fans into the stadium. Full-time Arsenal 4, London City 1. Feeling London City maybe could feel a bit hard done by that it was 4-1. I think 3-1 might have been a bit more of a fair reflection of the game. But Arsenal kept on the pressure, and I like that they went for it because goal difference could be very important. So a pretty good win for Arsenal. I can't have too many complaints with this, but I do think London City did pretty well. I looked over the program, and I forget just how many big names London City brought in, like Nikita Paris, who scored the goal today. But I think that's a fair reflection of the game, and also right now Arsenal is still a lot better than London City. So maybe 4-1 wasn't deserved, but it was a deserved victory for Arsenal. She scores a goal. She scores a goal. So last time I saw Arsenal had 17,000 season ticket holders for the Emirates, and today they got a crowd of 38,000 was the announcement, which is a pretty big crowd, and that's kind of the norm here at Arsenal, which, you know, amongst other things, not just having the best fans in the league, it's a really nice thing for players. Like, I imagine that plays a pretty big part in attracting players if you get to regularly play in front of crowds of 30K plus. So that's a very big draw for Arsenal, I think. I still think that I kind of prefer match days at Boreham Wood in the North Stand. The thing about Emirates is, when you can get every fan cheering, it does sound really intimidating for the opponents, because you can really get just this massive noise, a huge wall of noise that can intimidate anyone. And when you continuously get a ton of fans in the stadium, that can go really well. At the same time, I didn't really get too much of that today, and that is kind of the challenge of having a bigger stadium. I think I was in the wrong area for singing. Like at the Stamford Bridge game yesterday, I was able to get a lot more chants because I think I was in the area of the stadium where chants were happening. I kind of wonder if I was in the middle, if that would have happened. So I was in the middle in a great seat, but I didn't get to sing too much. And I think like if you were in Bournemouth, you might get that a bit more. It's hard to do it in a bigger stadium. That being said, it's still really cool to continuously see really big crowds here, and that's a huge draw for Arsenal. It's pretty fun to be up at the top. I don't usually get to do that, so now you can get up here and you see some of the train tracks and below people walking home from the game. One other really cool thing from up there is if you can see that building there, that is Highbury, or what remains of it at the very least. So I don't think this is unique to Arsenal, but after the match they close off the nearest station to the stadium, which kind of then causes the crowd to disperse more. I think it's a pretty smart thing, but what that means is you then have to walk a decent ways to the next stadium, which has become a pretty nostalgic part of the match day for me. Like something I look forward to at the end of the game now is the walk back to like 15-20 minutes to the station. In some ways, the nicest thing about a match day is getting home. It's walking back and waiting outside the station for a little while before you finally get on the train. It's about an hour after the match finished, and I just had a nice walk and sat for a while. It kind of gives me the chance to just sit and not worry about anything for a little bit, and that's a nice thing. So it's always something I look forward to at the end of the game. That's about all I have to say now. I'm glad you could sit through and watch my match day experience of Arsenal. Hope you all have a good day and check out